Welcome to the W2W review. I am the Oakland Knight, and today is Thursday, September 8th, and I'm running solo today. Pirates over in the LA studios, finishing up all the final touches on this Friday's broadcast, so wishing him the best over there. Today we're going to look at the press conferences that came out yesterday on Wednesday. We heard Jack Del Rio speak. We heard Derek Carr speak. I heard an interview from Amari Cooper and David Emerson. So I just kind of want to touch on some of these as we move forward. Plus, I'd like to talk about another coach if there's time in the show, just to kind of touch base on what we think may be going on there. All right, so let's go ahead and kick the show off. I'm going to go ahead and start off with Jack Del Rio. Jack Del Rio, being his coy little self, he actually made a slip up in this interview when he was talking about Hamilton and his hamstring injury. I thought that was pretty funny. They actually got him to talk about an injury, even though that it's already a foregone conclusion and Hamilton's okay now. But one of the quotes of the day, once again, I've heard Jack say this before. He was asked about, the crowd noise and what have you. And Jack, I love Jack's answer, the crowd noise is only as loud as you let it be. Meaning if you just go out there and you take care of your assignments and you handle your business, the crowd noise goes down. He said that last year. I love that quote, and I love the way that he approaches that. And then there's a guy that's, and I'm going to bring this up for Derek Carr as well. There's this guy in the media room that just keeps hounding the Vegas issue. And, when is it going to go away? I mean, I like the way that Jack handled it. I like the way that Derek handled it. But why do they continue to ask that question? Is this from another team just trying to stir something up? Is it from someone from Vegas trying to stir things up? It's like, look, whatever happens in the future is going to happen. We know that we can't fully control it. We got people out there like the 66 mob holding it down in Oakland, Dr. Death holding it down in Oakland. They are doing everything to make Oakland better, not just the Raiders better. So much love to them. But outside of that, I mean, Mark Davis is going to do what he feels is right for this football team at the moment. If Vegas gets all of its ducks lined up in a row, well, what else are you going to do? All reports have shown that Oakland is also working really hard, behind the scenes. That's what we keep on hearing, and I'm sure things will start to float out. Trust me, no matter what happens moving forward, we got time before all this becomes finalized, whether it's in Vegas or Oakland. So why do they have a reporter there just continuously asking them, that's just ridiculous. Well, what about your family? Does your wife? What does it matter what his wife says? Why are you getting into his personal life? We're 3 days away from this football game. Let's talk football. I like the way that Jack talked about the captains on this football team. For those who don't know, we have Reggie Nelson, Khalil Mack, Derek Carr, and Rodney Hudson. I think that's a great group of guys. A lot of these guys have gained respect over the years. Rodney Hudson in his second year, obviously Derek in his third, and Khalil in their third. They've really earned the right. They've been the focal point of this team really since they were rookies, so it's really amazing to see. I like the story of Reggie Nelson. I think the fact that they made, the team voted on Reggie Nelson becoming a captain. I've said it all offseason. I think, it's for the Raider fans, right? Just for the love that we have for Charles Woodson. It's impossible to replace a guy like Charles Woodson. He was the heart of this franchise for the last few years. But if you're going to attempt to replace a guy of that stature, why not a guy like Reggie Nelson? He led the league, or was tied for the lead in interceptions last year. He comes over with a lot of experience and a lot of respect. What Derek Carr mentioned about it was he liked the way that he had, he was a guy that'll get into your face, but then you're right up there joking with him on the sideline. So he's already got not only the respect, but he knows where to draw the line and people don't cross it. I think that's something else that Derek Carr referenced to. So as we look forward at this thing, guys, I find it amazing that Reggie was able to capture this team the way that he did. It kind of reminds me of Charles Woodson. So that's a positive moving forward, especially with a guy like Carl Joseph in the backfield. Yep, I said it, Carl Joseph. I hope everybody likes the way that I say that now. Hey, when you're up here and you're on a time limit, man, and you're getting through a bunch of information, your words at times seem to get bunched together, but that's okay. I'll get it more correct as we move forward. But, with a young guy like him in the backfield, and having a guy like Reggie Nelson he could lean on, show him the ropes, get him to understand some personnel packages. He's helping other guys get lined up front. It's just a really great story. Outside of that, there wasn't so much, too much into Jack Del Rio's press conference. It's only week one. To sit there and harp on the preseason will just be ridiculous at this point, especially for a head coach to sit out there and just continuously talk about preseason, what he liked and what he didn't like. He believes in this football team. He believes he has the right guys, and that's what he wants to focus on moving forward. He did touch base on Mario Edwards Jr. They decided to put him on the injury reserve list, temporary, so he will be available. I believe he can come back. I think it's like week 7 or 8. I think it's a little sooner than that, but there's like a week where you got to practice. He even mentioned that it's possible that he could be available before then, but it's just one of those. It's one of those things and one of those situations where, this made and this opened up a roster spot temporarily, to get someone that's healthy in there now. So we're technically only running 52. Now, what's going to be interesting moving forward is what are they going to do with that empty spot? Are they going to add linebacker depth? Are they going to maybe bring up someone from the practice squad? It'll be interesting as we move forward. I think they run with it this week. Kind of like what they did last year, and they ran with the secondary. They let them rip the first game. They obviously seen that it was a hole. They went and got David Emerson for week 2. So I think they keep that spot open. You only activate 48. Let's keep that in mind. It's a 53-man roster, but you only activate 48 for Sunday's game. So we'll see how that turns out for week 2 and see what they do with that extra spot. All right, so now as we move forward and look, I want to, there's one more other thing that he talked about that I want to mention. Yes, because we've been talking a lot about it. He brought up Taiwan Jones, and he said a lot of the same things, that they love Taiwan Jones. He's a special team specialist. He's a good gunner. He's really good at kicking the kick returns, and he's special with the ball in his hands, and they like him for special plays. So basically, they covered Taiwan Jones. In my personal opinion, Jack Del Rio said a lot of the same things about Taiwan Jones we've been saying here at the Will to Win, and trust me, and I'm going to reiterate this again. I don't personally have a problem with Taiwan Jones. My only point, and my point does not change, he's good at a lot of different things, but I mean, there was one other back in particular that was more well-rounded, and I believe could have gave us a lot of those same attributes. So the only difference being is Taiwan Jones was a little bit better catching the ball out of the backfield, maybe lining up as a receiver. But I'm not going to cry over it because I really believe that Latavius Murray will hold it down. I definitely believe that DeAndre Washington's going to hold it down, and I believe Jalen Richard has all the talent in the world too. So I think Taiwan Jones' time will be limited anyway. So that's all I have to say about that as we move forward. So let's get into a little bit of Derek Carr before we have to go to break. I really believe that Derek Carr, it's amazing how this guy just hasn't changed face. If you go back and you watch some of his rookie press conferences, the only difference between his rookie press conferences and the way he is this year is just maybe the knowledge that he has of the game itself, and how he, but his personality, the way he talks with his hands all the time, and he's always, really polite, really friendly, giving everybody the respect. It's almost like his demeanor hasn't changed from day one, even before he got the starting job. I mean, this guy is really humbled. He's really grounded. He knows what he's thinking. He knows what he wants to say, and he just goes out there and bees his humble self. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Derek Carr. So that being said, I just, it's hard to say, well, does he seem more confident? Nah, he just seems like the same guy. But some of the key things that he talked about was Derek Carr took the time to mention about the system, being in it for the second year, and how he could even look at guys like Donald Penn and just kind of give them that nod look, and they're on the same page, and they could go out there and understand each other. I think that's huge, especially when you're on the road playing in a loud stadium. But I thought that was great. But he also talked a lot about the players and having a better understanding of their abilities, what they're going to do. Like I said, the communication without words is huge. Derek Carr being a captain, I think is huge. And I already touched base that the guy I don't know who he was. I'll try to find out later. Just kept asking the annoying Vegas questions. But, all in all, I think Derek Carr is a guy ready and poised to have a big season. Just not only because of his confidence, but just because of the things that he said. I mean, the focal point of his press conference was the fact that second year in the same system, second year with a lot of the same returning pieces. In fact, like I've mentioned before, from a starting unit standpoint, the only things that are different on this offense is Kelechi Osemele and a healthy Meadowlark Watson. And then I guess you could throw Gabe Jackson playing at a different position. But, I mean, that's Rodney Hudson's job anyway, to get these guys ready and line them up anyway. So everybody else is returning. So the chemistry should be there. Does that mean the chemistry is going to be perfect? I guess we'll find out Sunday. But I'm not going to put that kind of pressure or expectations out on this offense right away, at least not in week one. But this is why I believe that this offense has more than enough weapons and enough reasons to excel this year, and Carr's numbers should grow. Outside the fact that I'm really demanding and looking forward to having a running game. I think that's what Derek Carr needs to really, really take it to the next level. But all in all, I mean, they're just ready. They mentioned to Derek Carr, they wanted to bring up Dennis Allen. He talked about having a ton of respect for Dennis Allen, how Dennis Allen gave him his first shot. I could be the first to tell you right now, blah, 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 okay? I get it. It's a respect thing. When you're a rookie drafted in the second round and you come in, this is the first head coach. This is a guy he's going to remember for the rest of his career. But as a fan, as somebody who sits there and likes to analyze his football team, I don't care about Dennis Allen. I don't care what he meant to him. Dennis Allen should not have been the head coach of this football team. We talked about it. The only thing that Dennis Allen fit was the fact that he was a yes man to Reggie McKenzie, and he made Reggie McKenzie's job just a little bit easier to make some of the tough decisions that Reggie had to make. Outside of that, though, yeah, I mean, Dennis Allen is who he is. It's going to be interesting, I'm not going to lie, to see him go up and face a Dennis Allen defense. But, outside of that, I mean, Derek is Derek, Dennis is Dennis. Even though they saw some things in practices, they're both two different guys at this point. It's been 2 years now. The personnel that he has over there in New Orleans is a lot different than the personnel he had over here in Oakland. And the same thing with Derek. I mean, Crabtree wasn't around. Seth Roberts wasn't active. You have guys like Amari Cooper that wasn't on this football team. And maybe Latavius Murray has a little bit of chip on his shoulder too and wants to really run through his defense. So it's a whole different scenario, a whole different concept, a whole different feel of the football team. I'm not going to pay much attention to it. But outside of that, I mean, I think the press conferences for this week, I'm going to give it a grade. And I normally don't like to give grades. I'm going to give these press conferences, I don't know, a C-. And the only reason I'm giving it a C- is because, once again, the only thing that there's truly to talk about is preseason or last season. And we all know that's all behind us now. None of that is relevant to what's going to happen in 2016. The only way we're really going to know and how to feel about this football team is when that clock hits all zeros in the fourth quarter this Sunday. So, I mean, this is where it all matters. This is where it all counts. Obviously, they're not going to give you too much insight of what's going on. They'll be keeping a lot of things close to their chest, and they're going to continue to do so moving forward. So I'm excited just about Sunday's game, guys. I just, the more and more we talk about it, we come on here and we talk. We just got done going through the 53-man roster offensively and defensively, and now we're starting. And this is the first time we're actually talking about a presser that actually is pertained to an actual football game that actually counts. So statistics, the win and loss, which is the biggest statistic you could have, it all matters now. And, we've been working all week on putting the show together, and we're going to continue to hammer it out moving forward. That will be released Friday, so there will be no show tomorrow, and I'll make sure I reiterate that before we get out of here today. But all in all, like I said, I'm going to give it a C-. There's just not enough depth at this time of year. And I don't give it a C- because those guys were boring or didn't give me enough information. There just wasn't a whole lot of information to give. But it was really good to hear them talk about the regular season, to hear them talk about the team they know that they're rolling with. It was really nice to hear them talk about the captains on this football team and what they're going to try to bring to the table. I love the Reggie Nelson stories. I love the fact that Rodney Hudson is a part of this whole deal, and Derek Carr and Khalil Mack. I really like the nucleus of this team, Raider Nation, so we're going to really find out when all the balls drop, man, that it's on this Sunday. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and then when we get back from break, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the interviews with Amari Cooper and David Emerson. And there's one coach I really think it's time for us to kind of revisit and talk about and take a look at what possibly is in his future and what really rides for him on this game. All right, guys. So when we get back from break, we'll take a look at it. Stay tuned.
Won't you follow me? Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Well, it's too lonely in the same old life. Yeah. You're too old to live, too young to die. Yeah. When you walk the line like you're sturdy shoes. Oh, forget the way it's the best to you. I said, oh Lord, won't you follow me into the jungle? Ain't no God on these streets in the heart of the jungle. Won't you follow me into the jungle? Ain't no God on these streets in the heart of the jungle. Won't you follow me? See, I lost my mind in the city lights. Yeah, the backstreet buildings and the neon lights. Yeah, when I heard the thunder, I could feel the rain.
All right, welcome back to the W2W review. I am the Oakland Knight, running solo today as my partner in crime is over in the LA studios, getting ready to get that production together for everybody this Friday. So make sure that you stay tuned to the YouTube channel and look for our Friday W2 broadcast. And we're going to have some great guests. We're going to interview a podcaster from the Saint Nations podcast. We're also going to have a great interview in our State of the Raider segment coming up with Charlie Boots. So you guys need to, from Raider Life podcast. So make sure that you guys stay tuned Friday as we drop that video on you. W2W broadcast this Friday. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into the second half of this program. Let's go ahead and start with Amari Cooper. When I first started watching his interview, I was like, wow, I thought he was going to be a little bit more, I always expect him to be soft-spoken, but he's just, I love the guy, man. I kind of wish, because he doesn't come off rude to me. It's not one of those, so what did you like about playing in New Orleans, Oh, I just like playing there, and it doesn't come off rude. It's just real short and to the point. And then they asked him, what's the difference this year? He said it was his rookie year and he's mentally more prepared. So someone asked him, so, how do you feel that you're more prepared and you're ready? He's just like, mentally, I just take care of my body. I mean, just the way he says it, if you don't understand how soft-spoken and humble this kid is, you could take it as like, oh man, this kid's kind of rude. But it has nothing to do with him being rude. It really comes down to him just, he's quiet, he's soft-spoken, he's all business, man. I mean, Amari Cooper is all business. I love that about him. He's not one of those really arrogant wide receivers that's going to be, causing a lot of noise on the field or in the locker room, demanding the football. He just wants to go out there and go to work. And we all know that he struggled last season early on, just the physicality of the game. And for some odd reason, maybe because he was so quiet and soft-spoken, there was a lot of guys, a la Pac-Man Jones, we won't forget that really tried to take it to Amari Cooper. And it wasn't just Pac-Man Jones. I mean, Pac-Man Jones took it too far. We understand that. But all of these cornerbacks were really trying to be physical with him at the line of scrimmage and really kind of get into his head. Like, welcome to the big time, little man. We're going to show you how this is done. But I think that he battled through it just fine. But I think the toll of it from a long season and him hurting his foot really slowed him down last year. So, hearing Amari Cooper talk about taking care of his body, being in the training room, how much smarter he is, and I'm going to translate that for him myself. When it comes to he's always been an intelligent wide receiver and an intelligent football player. I think his intelligence this year, when he's talking about the intelligent knowing more about the game, he knows what to expect from these corners. big, small, whatever. He knows the speed of the game. The smartness of the game. He's on the same page with his quarterback. When he's reading the same defense that Derek Carr is reading, it's going to make it easier for them to adjust and make plays. We saw small samples of that in the preseason. There was a couple of times they missed each other, but Derek Carr just has to give him that look, and that's just going to grow. So I'm really excited for Derek Carr coming into his third year. I'm very excited for Amari Cooper coming into his second. The kid has all the tools in the world, and I just can't wait to see this combination continue to grow as it moves forward, man. Like I said, I mean, this guy is one of the most humblest wide receivers I've ever seen in my life. Yes, it's only year 2. We'll see what happens as he progresses as a player and see where it takes him. But I'm just excited, and I think that having a guy like Amari Cooper on this football team reminds me a lot of Tim Brown. Real quiet, real humbled, just to the point. Let's go and play football. So I'm excited. I'm very excited. So a great interview from Amari Cooper. Then let's go ahead and get into David Emerson. Not so much juice in this interview, but what I will say is I just like the kid's attitude, man. Ever since that we picked him up in week 2 last year, this guy has not let us down. This guy has been he's been consistent in his gameplay. He's been consistent in his preparation. And, I don't think that he comes off, too cocky. There was a few times where, he gets really animated, but hey, all defenders should get animated. This guy's been playing his heart out since he's been on this football team, and I'm expecting him to do the same. The quote that I want to take from his interview was the fact that he says that he plays the position like the ball's being thrown his way every play. Wow. This is exactly what you want to hear. Now, I will say this. These are just words. Anybody can say these kind of words. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to go out there and do it. But David Emerson has shown week in and week out last season that he's willing to go out there and do it. He started off a little slow in the preseason. But once again, guys, it's the preseason. I'm a firm believer that preseason is just preseason. I believe it's a time to prepare. It's a time to get your football legs under you and knock out some of those kinks and some of that rust you might have from having a nice long offseason. And I think that's all we saw from David Emerson. As you saw the preseason go along from all these guys, they're just knocking off the dust. They're just knocking off the rust. Vanilla schemes. I think the secondary is going to be really strong, and David Emerson is going to be a huge part of it. One more thing that I want to take away from what he was talking about, he also brought up Reggie Nelson and being a captain, and he kind of just let you know right there, just the comfort level that not only he has with Reggie Nelson being out there being a captain, but the whole team. And he believes that they're going to build chemistry and continuity as they move forward. He also believes that they're ready to go out and play now. So with that being said, man, I just think that, having a young guy, I mean, he's still pretty young. I mean, he's only getting into his second contract, so he's barely starting to come into his own in his prime. I think between him, Sean Smith, Reggie Nelson, Nate Allen and Carl Joseph, I think that this secondary is going to be solid. It's going to be a real solid unit this year. The only question being, once again, is our nickelback, but all signs point that the DJ Hayden can handle this, guys. At least he had a good training camp. We didn't see a whole lot of it in preseason, but if we're going to stick by that motto that it's just preseason, then we got to stick by the motto that it's just preseason. Okay, that's going to wrap up our interview process for this week's show. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get into what Ken Norton has to say and what Bill Musgrave has to say, because Friday we're releasing our broadcast. So this week we're not going to get into it, but we'll have to address that as we move forward. But just because we don't hear them speak does not mean we don't address them. And there's one certain player that one certain coach that I believe that, I call this the night State of the Union address on one Bill Musgrave. A lot of talk, a lot of rumblings going out there about Bill Musgrave, and his play calling. And we saw it early on in the preseason. It was the same stuff, man. Draw, wide receiver screen. Throw the ball deep, make some good plays. Everything's rolling really good. What do? Wide receiver screen, draw. And by the end of the Green Bay game, I think most of the Raider Nation had pretty much had it already. And this is preseason. We always talk about, it's just preseason, it doesn't matter. But if you really go out there and search, YouTube channels, Facebook pages, you name it. Everybody's already had it up to here with one Bill Musgrave. But then he comes out in the Tennessee game, which was supposed to be, non-dress rehearsal, just real kind of relaxed. You thought you were going to see a lot of the same things, but you didn't. I saw, in fact, not only the Tennessee game and the Seattle game, he kind of went away from that wide receiver screen. Now, I don't know if it was Jack Del Rio that said, hey, enough of that wide receiver screen stuff, man. Let's play some football. But I think maybe that he was just showing them predominantly what they did last year, because that's what we saw. And when you're keeping things vanilla, that's one way you keep it vanilla, right? You keep it simple, you keep it plain, you get a penalty. And trust me, my State of the Union on Bill Musgrave is not to sit here and defend the guy. But in all fairness, the slate is clean. This is week 1, preseason. What we saw in preseason, it don't matter. All we ever hear is that it's just preseason. All we ever hear is that, none of this matters. We keep it vanilla. We're not scheming. We're not planning. We're not showing all of our plays. If that's the case, then it's probably not 100% fair to give a full judgment or a full estimation on one Bill Musgrave from the preseason and what we saw. However, I think if there's any coach, and I said this towards the end of last season, if there's any coach on this roster right now that is on the hot seat, it is one Bill Musgrave. And it's, to me, it's pretty crazy, because when you look at us as a football team who hasn't had a 1,000-yard rusher since 2000, I believe it's 2012, he produces Latavius Murray, and something that I complain about, so this is right to me, right? Something I complain about constantly is our running game. He produced a 1,126-yard rusher in his first year in this offense. Derek Carr had 32 touchdowns with only 12 interceptions and threw for over 3,000 yards. We had Amari Cooper as a rookie who went over 1,000 yards receiving, and he led us in drops. Michael Crabtree was pushing 1,000. So when I look at our offensive numbers, it doesn't tell the story. It doesn't tell the full story of what exactly Bill Musgrave did. Now, here's my thing with that. And that's one thing I used to defend him, right? All the numbers went up. The offense for its first year under Bill Musgrave really thrived at times. It fell off towards the end, but it thrived at times, right? He produced, alternates or not, he produced 3 Pro Bowlers off his offense. But you talk to half of the Raider Nation or 90% of the Raider Nation, they're going to tell you they want Bill Musgrave off this football team. And I always said, even since last year, I was not happy with Bill Musgrave. However, I wanted to see one more year. I don't think you break up what you started building last year. I think the numbers speak for themselves. In year 1, for him to put that all together in year 1, I think was pretty incredible. Now, I'm banking on the fact that he's not going to run the same vanilla plays that he's been running, not only early in this preseason, but last year. I don't mind him running wide receiver screens. We've got some playmakers that can do something with the ball. I think Johnny Holton's one. Amari Cooper's, another guy that could just really take this wide receiver screen and make something of it. However, when you run it as much as Bill Musgrave likes to run it, it becomes too predictable. The same thing with the running back draw, especially with Latavius Murray. I think there's some success there for DeAndre Washington. I think there could be some success there for Richard, excuse me. But at the same time, I mean, why? Why keep subbing in your running backs and running that? I want to see a power running game. And I don't think we've really seen what this offense is planning on being. And I know this State of the Union right now really sounds like I'm backing Musgrave up. No, because now I'm going to get to the real brass tacks. Okay? This is what I expect. I expect things to change. I expect for him to be more aggressive. I expect him to be a smart play caller and understand when to hit the gas and when to let off, and I'm sure Jack will let him know that. But I also understand that Jack was not happy. Jack was not happy in that Green Bay game, and I don't know if it was because it was the players not executing or he just wasn't even himself understanding some of the calls. Vanilla or not, scheme or not, we weren't getting a look at how we were going to attack certain situations because everything seemed to change after that week. Bill Musgrave is no fool. Bill Musgrave has been fired by Jack Del Rio midseason once before. The question is, who's going to be calling the plays if Bill Musgrave gets fired? Is it going to be Mike Tice, the quarterback's coach? Do they have a game plan for that? I'm under the impression that it would be Mike Tice. Now, I think that the fact that I know that Jack Del Rio will pull that trigger, I think Bill Musgrave understands that Jack will pull that trigger. I am hoping with the combination of all of these things all in one pile, second year in this offense, he has more confidence in Derek Carr. He has more confidence in the personnel that he has out there on the field. There should be no reason that this turns vanilla early on in the season, for sure, right? This first game, it should be attack, attack, attack. If you want to sell me all preseason long that you're not scheming for these games, you're not game planning, this is a lot of stuff that's vanilla. These are just the small basic principles that we run on offense because we don't want to show our hand too much, then I'm expecting for this football team to come out in week 1 against the New Orleans Saints, a team that, yeah, they're making some defensive adjustments, but these guys are vulnerable in their secondary, and I think they're a little bit vulnerable in the middle of their linebacking core, so we should be able to get some holes opened up, and the guys, even like Latavius Murray, should be able to do something with this ball, and DeAndre Washington should be able to break some out. And you get a running game with some play action, this game is for the taking for us, guys. All Bill Musgrave has to do is stay aggressive. Not overly aggressive. We got to be careful what we ask for. But if we get thrown back into a 5-yard penalty from a false start, or even 10-yard penalty for being held, start pressing, start pushing the ball up the field. Be smart about it. If it's third and 20, there's no sense to try to throw a 20-yard pass, guys. There really ain't. It all depends on where we're at in the game. You don't want to give up that field position. So, there is a way to play smart. And Bill Musgrave, like I said, he's a hard cat to figure out at this point. A lot of us are carrying some old baggage over from last season. A lot of us are sitting here scratching our head because we saw a lot of the same thing in the first 2 games of the preseason. But, what we saw the last 2 games of the preseason makes me a little bit more hopeful. A lot of us that kept, bashing Bill Musgrave, kind of said, hey, well, we saw things change a little bit. Well, okay, now this is the time where we really need to see it to change. It's crazy. Like I said, 3 Pro Bowlers from our offense last year. We had a 1,000-yard receiver, a 1,000-yard running back, and almost 4,000 yard passer, and a guy who threw 32 touchdowns to only 12 interceptions. Some credit has to go to the offensive coordinator on it. It just does. And let's just hope that it was him just introducing his offense, him protecting Derek Carr in year 2, him protecting Amari Cooper in year 1. Things were pretty vanilla, real vanilla, but there's no reason why this offense should not open up now. There's just absolutely no reason why this team should not open things up, get the ball down the field, start running the ball at all costs. And if not, Bill Musgrave, I essentially really, we need a fast start. We need our offensive numbers to be up. It's one thing for even if our defense wins us football games, but I want to be on the average of at least 20 points a game. I want to score at least 20 points a game. If we're not scoring 20 points a game with Latavius Murray having at least 100 yards rushing and Derek Carr at least having a touchdown and at least 220, 230-yard, 100-yard passing games, then let's make a move. Let's make a change. This team is too talented for us to throw it all in right now over Bill Musgrave. But, hey, like I said, it's a clean slate. Week 1, he's got a clean slate. Let's go, man. It's week 1. It's the New Orleans Saints. We're going to the Big Easy, and we're going to bring it hard, guys. I know we are. I really have a lot of confidence in this football team. Maybe not 100% confidence in Bill Musgrave, but I have a confidence in Derek Carr. I have confidence in this wide receiving core, and I believe that this defense is going to start gelling soon. All right, guys, all out of time. Don't forget, there will be no W2W review tomorrow, but there will be a W2W broadcast later towards the evening. Where we have a couple of guests. We'll break down the game, and it's going to be an exciting time. But until then, don't forget, go to Facebook, go to Instagram, go to Twitter, all at The Will to Win. Any questions or concern, email us at thew2w@gmail.com. That's thew2w@gmail.com. All right, guys, until Friday when we're on the broadcast, and Sunday immediately after the game, guys. Don't forget, we are live immediately after the game. You can call us up and share your thoughts. After week 1, right after every game, right here on YouTube. But until then, I'm the Oakland Knight, and you stay Raider strong. Hey there, I'm Jason Smith, also known as the Oakland Knight. We'd like to thank you for watching the Will to Win broadcast here on YouTube. And if you would like to stay up to date for more content like this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. Or you could click any one of the videos on the side to watch more great videos. Thank you once again, and stay Raider strong.